Welcome back, everybody. Welcome to another episode of What the X. This is, I think it's WTX 71. Oh my gosh, I'm losing track, guys. Been a long day, been busy. I went to the gym a little bit ago, and then doing some laundry late night. Girl's already sleeping in the other room. So just doing a What the X in the living room in the apartment, and we're gonna go over a little crazy. We were talking about the Somali tax fraud before, guys. That is still kind of a big deal. What's going on right now? So we're just gonna start off with a who better than a tweet from Representative Ilhan Omar, who Trump has gone after time and time again, a very outspoken Somalian American representative of the U.S. Congress. So she says this, Representative Ilhan Omar. 5 years ago, Trump incited a violent insurrection. Armed extremists stormed the Capitol to overturn an election. I never thought I'd see an attempted coup in the United States. January 6th was an assault on democracy, and no amount of whitewashing will erase the truth. And this isn't to excuse January 6th. What happened should not have happened. There should have been more order, more law and order. Rest in peace to the law enforcement that had lost their lives on that day. Again, very hot topic. I don't want to talk about January 6th too much, but I did want to just bring up the timing of this with the fraud case, that's going on in Minnesota. Pretty crazy. Well, not crazy. Makes sense. It's logical to throw this out there and just try to make Trump look like a bad guy. It's easy to make Trump look like a bad guy. He does it himself on a daily basis. I mean, look what he said about Rob Reiner. That was just uncalled for. He definitely puts his foot in his mouth many times over. But that would be dismissive to just go right after Trump when there really should be some investigations just to put this whole thing to rest, because I know they've been going over fraud in the past. I think like since 2021, if I'm not mistaken, with some COVID relief type deals and some other things with the and again, I'm not saying to dehumanize anyone, but it's a very concentrated group of Somalian actors. Again, Somalian Americans. I'm sure there's so many great Somalian Americans out there. Shout out to all my Somalian Americans. Hopefully you like and subscribe. I appreciate everybody. But there is seriously some real serious allegations of fraud that should be investigated, just like anything should be investigated. I think, if anything, I think Trump should, CoffeeZilla goes after Trump a lot, so maybe Trump shouldn't ask CoffeeZilla to look into this, but CoffeeZilla, maybe he should look into this whole thing. But Representative Ilhan Omar, I think just bringing up January 6th as a way to distract from all this craziness going on right now with that Minnesota fraud allegations that we're hearing so much about. Again, if you guys hadn't seen the last video, please watch it. I went over Nick Shirley, who pretty much put the video out on X, or Twitter, as people call it. And it really, like, look at the cause and effect. A lot of people were calling him a right-wing YouTuber, trying to dismiss his credibility. And I think actions speak a lot louder than words, because Tim Walz actually dropped out, guys. Not dropped out. Yeah, I guess dropped out of the upcoming election. So he's just going to serve out his term, it sounds like, and then let someone else take the reins. Maybe he was fired from the Democrat apparatus that controls him. Who knows? Allegedly controls him, because I don't have hard evidence of anything like that, but it almost seems like he got fired. Maybe Obama, the rest of the crew kind of sat down and were smoking some cigars and said, you know what, Timmy boy, the fraud is just too rampant, too crazy. We can't cover up these allegations. They're going to be real. You may have to do some time, but we definitely need you to step down. Who knows if that kind of conversation happened. Tim Walz drops out of nowhere, even though he's coming out here, and this is a tweet from Tim Walz, and this is funny enough, Tim Walz saying, my opponents have been celebrating this far-right YouTuber as a groundbreaking journalist. Here he reveals who he really is, a delusional conspiracy theorist. Funny enough, guys, or not funny enough because it's a tragic story at the end of the day, but the tweet that he decides to repost from Nick Shirley, the YouTuber that went to that Somali daycare. A lot of people are arguing about the credibility of his videos and everything, and then there's so much to it. We'll just see. Investigations, please. But Nick Shirley, he had this to say, which is, again, super controversial. That's a conspiracy theory for sure at this moment. Super allegedly. But Nick Shirley says, why was she killed after speaking out against illegal migrants? Was she a threat to you and your fraudster scheme? Fraudster scheme. Wow, that was tough for me to say. Rip to Melissa Hortman. And I remember hearing about that awful story with Melissa and her husband being, murdered by this crazy, I believe they were saying, like, MAGA lunatic who was going after, was politically motivated. He has a manifesto, if I'm not mistaken. But interesting that what Nick Shirley's saying here. And then for Tim Walz to even repost this, it almost makes you look worse, in my opinion. It's like you should have just let him put his own foot in his mouth rather than reposting this and almost making it seem like maybe, did you have some part in this, Tim Walz? You're just trying to dismiss him as a crazy delusional conspiracy theorist. But look, you've actually stepped down from the upcoming election to, as you say, focus on making sure you're doing what's most for Minnesotans. Well, maybe you should do most by making sure fraud doesn't happen. Allegedly, I guess, right now. Again, guys, investigations. If Tim Walz is innocent and all this crazy stuff is just being pinned on him, that would be insane. It doesn't look good for him, though. I'll say that much. It does not look good for Tim, if I'm being honest. And I do want to show this last video, guys. Again, rest in peace to Melissa Hortman. But here, I'm just going to play it right now for you guys.
I know that people will be hurt by that vote, and
She's almost to tears.
we worked very hard to try to get a budget deal that wouldn't include that provision.
DFL Speaker Emerita Melissa Hortman emotional following the House's adjournment from a special session Monday. Hortman was the lone DFL lawmaker to cast a vote to cut Minnesota Care access for undocumented immigrants. It's a move she made with a heavy heart.
I did what leaders do. I stepped up and I got the job done for the people of Minnesota.
The bill was deeply unpopular with members of the DFL caucus. Members have repeatedly expressed frustration that the bill was part of a compromise, one that would ensure the necessary GOP votes to pass the rest of the state budget.
We are tremendously disappointed and gut-wrenched at this decision, at this compromise that compromises our communities that are most vulnerable.
Hortman knows she let down her own caucus members with the vote.
They're right to be mad at me. I think some of them are pretty angry. I think that their job was to make folks who voted for that bill feel like crap, and I think that they succeeded.
See, guys, so that was Melissa Hortman, and she was the lone vote in pretty much, budgeting for health access for illegal immigrants. It sounded like through that video there. And then Nick Shirley bringing up whether or not Tim Walz was involved or not is, again, it's a conspiracy theory at this point, but maybe also something that should be investigated into, because there's so much distrust with media these days. It's crazy to think that CNN, 60 Minutes, ABC, all these big mainstream media sources weren't able to get this kind of momentum going for the fraud going on in Minnesota, and it took Nick Shirley, a YouTuber, as Tim Walz wants to call him, a far-right YouTuber, to uncover this kind of stuff. And people are arguing if it's truly uncovered or if it's a hoax or whatever. But I mean, look, he's actually if it was such a hoax and if it wasn't happening, why would Tim Walz drop out? Even if my conspiracy theory of the political apparatus, like the Democrats up here, saying, "Hey Timmy, you gotta go." Like that's still like almost an admission of guilt, in my opinion. So it just doesn't look good for Tim Walz at this moment, at this particular point in this junction. But shout out to Nick Shirley for busting the lid on this thing and having everybody talk about it. And then hopefully, again, I'm just always about like fair investigations and hopefully we get answers. And then the taxpayer dollar isn't being misused. There's not fraud going on, taking advantage of hardworking Americans. That's what I want. So, again, rest in peace to Melissa Hortman there for that. And then what she said that was so striking to me, guys, at the end of that clip was that she was like, people have a right, like they're gonna be pissed at me because it's like it's kind of messed up to use in a way the Somali Americans, every like just the immigrant populations that come here for a better life and better opportunities, and then this fraud being perpetrated allegedly by people like Tim and other people in our political bodies misusing funds like that, and then trying to also be this grandiose like, you know oh, we're here for everyone. We're here to like it's just so like false promises and like it's just here it's going to be amazing. We want justice for all. We want all this. We want to make sure it's fair for everyone and that everyone has all these unlimited resources. It's like they have to come from somewhere. And the sad thing is a lot of these programs probably would be really great programs if the money wasn't stolen from like these thieves, allegedly. But if these people are thieving out here and taking taxpayer dollars, that should go to children in need. That should go to people on the streets and like shelters and other things that would like freaking help the society as a whole. Then if those people are really defrauding and scheming, I feel bad that it's all being put on a certain community, even if maybe some members are also in politics or maybe in that community that happen to be bad actors. That doesn't mean everyone in that community is bad. You know what I'm saying? There's bad people in every community. That's a minority. I like to be an optimist. Everybody love everybody, as I always like to say. And there's no reason to think that the majority of people are bad. It's the minority that have the loudest stories, right? These bad people here getting this story here. Because whoever is defrauding taxpayer dollars like that, you're the lowest of the low. Lowest of the low. Scum. You're scum. So that's all I had to say about that. Hopefully the investigations go somewhere and justice is served for whoever is involved in this. And if, God forbid, the conspiracy theory that Nick Shirley's throwing out there with the Melissa Hortman has any like bearing in reality, like real justice needs to be served, because that's just such a terrible story. And I hate to even put that into a light that's like conspiracy theorists. Just respect to her and her husband, and hope they're at peace, because that's just, again, awful. So who knows with Minnesota? There's such a dirty closet full of skeletons in Minnesota's bedroom. So we'll see how this all goes. We'll see if Tim Walz can clear his name, because he looks guilty as hell right now. Does not look good. And yeah, we'll just stay tuned, guys. Thanks again so much for watching. This has been another episode of What the X? If you like that clip, feel free to click on this clip or even this clip. And then, hey, don't forget about that clip over here. Thanks, guys.